Hello everybody. The last time I reviewed an episode of Doctor Who I think was Smile in 2017, so here we are. I tried to review Revolution of the Daleks, that thing, but didn't work out, so we're just going to waffle about it for a bit. Not going to be organised at all, which is the way all reviews should be in my eyes, so yeah, shut up and listen. So, we were all fooled, and I don't know how, considering it's a typical Chibnall trope of advertising an episode on a plot point that doesn't exactly take up too much of the story when it comes to it. Like, for example, It Takes You Away was advertised as a monster in the woods kind of thriller story, and in the end, it turned out to be a whole conscious universe masquerading as a frog. Which was really good. It Takes You Away is one of my favourite Doctor Who episodes, and it works again here, that way of advertising the episode, because it means there's more surprises when you come to watch it, and I just find the episodes in the Chibnall era way more fun because of that, so that's a big thumbs up. Even though we probably could have had lots more prison stuff and maybe made the story a two-parter, you know, for a 70-minute episode, I think there was the right amount set in the prison. That being very minimal, because we all wanted to see the fam back together. Don't lie, especially 13 stands, they definitely wanted to see the fam back together. So, shall we start with the characters? It makes sense to begin with the Doctor. Jodie Whittaker was brilliant in this episode. She is my favourite Doctor, without a doubt. Chibnall wrote her extremely well, actually. I think everything she did in this episode was in character. My main worry was how she would deal with being in prison for so long. And I know one criticism people have that is totally strange to me is that they wanted her to kind of come out of it with a more darker personality, and that would have been rubbish, because that's totally not the 13th Doctor. You're thinking of the 10th Doctor or the 12th Doctor if you think that is what would happen. The 13th Doctor is a beacon of hope, alright? She may get sad, she may be angry for a bit, but she always comes out of it, you know, the same old 13th Doctor, which is brilliant. Jack was back with the Doctor. I know he was in Fugitive of the Jadoon, but he didn't really meet the Doctor. And I'm glad their reunion was nice and it was a lot of fun for a lot of Doctor Who fans, but it wasn't an event. The story didn't revolve around Jack and the Doctor being back together, which is brilliant. That is exactly the way I wanted Chibnall to handle it. And even though John Barrowman is a massive presence in any episode, he definitely did not overshadow any of the fam, so I'm grateful for that. And Jack and the 13th Doctor just have such a lovely chemistry. Like, Jack and the 9th Doctor, Jack and the 10th Doctor, you can tell they're friends, but Jack and the 13th Doctor are old friends, and Jodie Whittaker and John Barrowman are just superb in showing that in their performances. As for the other three-quarters of the fam, they were all impeccable in this episode. Everyone was on top form, no companion got left behind, everyone had their own arc, and it was brilliant. Yaz, in particular, she has definitely got an arc going on. I feel like we're going to come back to a lot of her stuff in this episode in Series 13. She became obsessed with the Doctor over her 10 months not travelling with her, trying to find out where she went and how they could get back to her. So I definitely think her choosing to continue to travel is going to come back to bite her. Maybe at the end of Series 13, maybe at the end of Series 14, who knows anymore. But yeah, I think they were setting up a lot of stuff with her, and I'll be excited to see how that pays off. She had really great chemistry with John Barrowman, so I can definitely see if they were to bring Captain Jack back in Series 13. Not saying they should, by the way, but if they were, Yaz and Jack, they'd be able to continue to work on that bond, and they just got on like a house on fire, okay, and I really like that. Ryan in many ways had the opposite arc to Yaz. He learned that he wanted to stay on Earth and help out his own planet, which I think is really great for Ryan. You know, I don't think they could have handled his exit any better. It honestly was the perfect exit for a companion. You know, Tosin Cole gave a spectacular performance. I've always said he's one of the best companions Doctor Who ever had. And in this episode, just the way you can see how much he's learned over his travels with the Doctor and his 10 months without her. He's the one telling her what to do a lot of the time, and he's standing up to people. There's one moment that no one's mentioned where Jack talks about how good Yaz is, and Ryan says, no, we all are. And he knows how good of a companion he is. And in the end, that choice he makes, I think it was the best way for his character to go. And I'm really happy they gave Tosin Cole the material and the opportunity to give a beautiful performance. In particular, that scene where the Doctor talks to Ryan about being the timeless child, and Ryan, tells her about reconnecting with his dad and what she should do next. You can tell how far Ryan's come, and that is a contender for the best scene of the episode for me. Graham is the oldest and the wisest of the companions, and he didn't really have an arc. He wasn't that affected by the Doctor leaving, which I think was right for him. If you look at his entire arc, a lot of it does revolve around Grace and Ryan. So his decision to leave the TARDIS in the end, I think it's really nice that they focused on Ryan, and at the end he came out with the fact that he wants to stay and he wants to spend his life with Ryan. He doesn't want to miss out on his grandson. Even though Bradley Walsh has always given phenomenal performances, a lot of his arc has been about looking after Ryan, at first for Grace, and then I think later on in his run he's doing it for himself because they've formed quite a bond, those two. You can definitely see their journey throughout series 11 and 12, and it just, that ending, especially when Graham's leaving the TARDIS and he says there are aliens in Sheffield, that got me. That absolutely got me. Graham's arc came full circle and I couldn't be happier with the way he left. They dragged out Graham and Ryan's leaving scene so much, not even in like a negative way. Just every time they hit you with a line that made you emotional, they hit you with another and another and another. And the music by Segun Akinola was so good. I just think it's going to go down as one of my favourite exit scenes for a companion, or even maybe exit scenes for any character, companion, Doctor, etc. in history. It was just beautiful. And I always hold Amy and Rory's exit dear to my heart. That made me so sad, but I think this one has beaten it. And I guess it's just because of how close I've become to these characters over the course of series 11 and 12. And when the Doctor went in for that hug and she said bye fam, and the music and everything was perfect, that is definitely going to go down as one of the saddest moments in Doctor Who history for me. And then just when you think the episode is over, Ryan and Graham go back. Ryan's trying to ride the bike, Graham's helping it out, and Ryan just cements how good of a companion he was by giving that awesome speech where he calls the Pating mighty. It's just perfect. And Ryan doesn't even learn to ride the bike, and I'm glad he didn't, because it just shows that Graham is still sticking with him. He's made little to no progress, but Graham's not going to leave him. They're going to be a happy family forever. They're going to go and stop these trolls and the gravel monsters, and everything's going to be fantastic. Also, why did they hit me with Grace? Chibnall, you knew that was going to hurt. Chris Noth as Jack Robertson. Still a Trump parody, always was a Trump parody. Still fantastic, which I'd argue he was in Arachnids in the UK. And he's just such a good Doctor Who villain, very reminiscent of the Third Doctor era. You can definitely see him facing off with Jon Pertwee. And I don't know really what to say. He was very good in this episode. He was definitely a key player in the beginning, but I think as the episode played out, he became less and less important. He's definitely coming back as well. They're going to do the Jack Robertson trilogy. I can just feel it. So I'm intrigued to see how that plays out. But nothing negative to report. Jo Patterson, the Prime Minister, she was brilliant for the little time she had on screen. She definitely seemed to disappear around halfway through. She's very menacing at the beginning. Not menacing in like an evil genius way. She's just quite sinister, and she's a politician, so you can definitely see what they were going for in terms of the messages of this episode. But that scene where the Daleks exterminate her then turn towards the camera, that is iconic. I hope that image stays in people's heads for years to come. Leo Ragazzi, he was also very good. He played a good villain when he was possessed by the Dalek, and he was a good side character in the beginning, and that's about it for him. I'm not going to sit here for 10 minutes to talk about a character who, in the end, only really served to get the Daleks back on the scene, but hey, he was fantastic. As for the Defence Drone Daleks, they looked very good, and I'm glad they had different silhouettes that were equally as iconic. They were very menacing as well, and I'm glad we got to see as much as we did of the attempted genocide. I don't want to see the last of the Defence Drone design. I hope it survives somehow, but at least in this episode they got a good run, so it's not like they were wasted like the Paradigm Daleks. The Doctor definitely went for quite a strange option of defeating the defence drones by getting the Death Squad involved, but going too far is practically a personality trait of the Doctor's by this point. The Death Squad was a nice idea, but they should have had more updated designs in my opinion. I mean, the claw was nice, but I wanted them to be more separate from normal Daleks, maybe different coloured slats or a different coloured dome. And people did complain that the defence drones were defeated so easily by the real Daleks. But come on, you want the Daleks to be more threatening. You can't have them beaten by rip-off Daleks made by humans. It would really be against the Daleks' MO, if I'm honest with you. The ending was fantastic and cheesy and clever, and they had that TARDIS at their disposal. They couldn't just leave it lying around. Anything could happen to it. So I think the way they dealt with that and the Daleks was really very clever, and it came out of nowhere, not because it was an unreasonable ending, but just it was a surprise to the audience and worked really well. Also, it made for some phenomenal CGI shots. Those are some of the best that we've seen in Doctor Who's history. In fact, I'd go as far to say Revolution of the Daleks is the best looking episode in Doctor Who's history. Also, the best scored episode. I will continue to argue that Segun Akinola is one of the best composers ever, certainly the best Doctor Who's ever had in my opinion. His tracks for this episode were amazing, and I'm so glad he released every single note from the episode on the soundtrack just 4 hours afterwards. We're still waiting on Series 10 from Murray Gold. Anyway, good tracks. Ooh, it's hard to pick my favourites. Something revolutionary with the Techno-Dalek theme, the best variation of a theme the Daleks have ever had. Breakout Ball, that was very good. The production line, you know, when the TARDIS lands in Graham's living room, amazing. What is it with such fantastic tracks when the TARDIS lands in Graham's house? I don't know what else to say. Bifam was a fantastic score to the exit scene of Ryan and Graham. Really fit the mood so well, and I'll be listening to this entire soundtrack for years and years to come. Lee Haven-Jones proves that he's one of Doctor Who's best directors. This was also the best directed episode, as well as the best edited episode, the best sounding episode. It was just, it was phenomenal. I love it to pieces, and I've already watched it 2.5 times so far, and it's so good. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, I know that is very high, but you probably won't see me give another episode a 9.5 out of 10 for a long while, because it rarely happens. And even though I think the entire Chibnall era ranges from about an 8 to a 9, with the odd 9 point something, you know, Doctor Who rarely is perfect, but I definitely think this episode comes very close. Anyway, this is my ramble about Doctor Who Revolution of the Daleks, the New Year's special for 2021, officially complete. Please like and comment, and also subscribe. You know, I may keep these going. I may review any episode. I might review Fear Her tomorrow, you know. Let's see what happens, but have a good day.